Hello everyone, this is Professor Nelson from Electronics. Today we're going to talk about the components that most frequently fail on electronic boards. This is so you don't have to check every single electronic component to repair any board. For this purpose, we brought these two boards, and today I'm going to show you which components tend to fail most often. So, without further ado, let's watch the video. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is check the components near the power outlet. Components like these two here. Here we have a fuse. Similar to this one here. Fuses usually blow when too much current passes through them, thus protecting our boards. Therefore, we only need to check if there is continuity between its pins. That is, between this point and this point, we need to check for continuity. This is usually the most common failure. However, next to it we have another component. This one here. This is a varistor. A varistor is a component that works like a very high-value resistor. Like this resistor, which, under normal conditions, has a very high value. That is to say, it doesn't work. However, if the voltage at the power outlet experiences disturbances, that is, if very high voltage spikes appear, it is in these situations that the varistor begins to work. Its resistance value reaches a value close to zero. Because of this, it will work as if it were a short circuit. This short circuit caused by the varistor will cause the fuse to blow, thus protecting our circuit board. It can work several times in this way. However, at some point, the varistor will burn out. That is to say, it will explode like this varistor. A varistor normally has to have a fairly high resistance value. Therefore, we set our multimeter to kilo-ohm resistance. We check the varistor. And it is in good condition. Now let's see what this damaged varistor measures. You can see that it measures 0 ohms, meaning it is damaged. But this one is in good condition. Now let's see if the fuse is in good condition. There we can see that it is in good condition. Very good. Now the next component that is most frequently damaged. It would be this one here. This is a diode bridge. It is the same as this component, and its job is to convert the alternating current from the power outlet into direct current. This direct current can then be used on the rest of the board. All diode bridges have 4 terminals. They have 2 pins for AC input, and they have 2 pins for DC output. Now, how do we know if it's working properly? Well, like this. First, we set the multimeter to diode mode. Now, at the AC input, it shouldn't measure any value. Even if we reverse the polarity, that means it's working correctly. Now, at the DC output, in forward bias, it shouldn't measure anything. That is, positive to positive, and negative to negative. But in reverse bias, it should measure something, and it should be a value greater than that of a diode. There we have a value greater than that of a diode. In other words, this diode bridge is working correctly. Now let's check this diode bridge. First, the AC input. Alright, and it's working correctly. Now, the output in forward bias. It's working correctly. It shouldn't measure anything. In reverse bias, it should measure something. That means the diode bridge is in good condition. Now let's measure this diode bridge. AC input. It measures a value, something it shouldn't measure. We invest. It also measures a similar value. That means this diode bridge is faulty. It needs to be removed and replaced with another diode bridge. The next component to get damaged is usually the high voltage capacitors. Like this one here. Sometimes disturbances in the power supply reach the electrolytic capacitor. Since these generally have a fixed working voltage, if the voltage is higher, they tend to bulge in this area. High voltage electrolytic capacitors are usually the largest you'll see on circuit boards. For example, these would be the ones on this board. Now, you usually have to measure the capacitor after short-circuiting its pins. That is, you have to discharge the capacitor using a screwdriver. You short-circuit the pins very carefully. Once the capacitors are short-circuited, you can handle the board. Now, to check the condition of a capacitor, you should normally use a capacitance meter or a multimeter with that feature. How's it going? To take the measurement, you have to respect the capacitor's polarity. That is, negative to negative, and positive to positive. And there it measures 97 microfarads. Let's see if that's true. And it says there that it's 100 microfarads per 450 volts. Well, yes, this capacitor is in good condition. However, if it has a bulge, it means it's already degraded. In this case, we can't take a measurement because the diode bridge is damaged. Therefore, the reading will be incorrect. First, we would have to remove the diode bridge and measure each capacitor. Then we have the Schottky diodes. These here. These diodes can deliver large amounts of current if necessary. For example, if you look here, we have these two in parallel. And here we also have these three in parallel. These deliver current to obtain a fairly high voltage. And these diodes are used to obtain a lower working voltage. Here you can see that they are indeed in parallel. Therefore, these diodes need to be checked because they usually get damaged when the current exceeds the nominal value of each diode. The value of a Schottky diode will always be lower than the value of a normal diode. We measure it in forward bias, and it would show us that value. But in reverse bias, it shouldn't show a reading. The value you see is the charge of a capacitor. That is, it's connected to the capacitors, and they are charging. Therefore, that value is perfectly normal. After that, we have a rather interesting component. Here we have an optocoupler. That one there is very important, because if it's damaged, the board stops working. Now let's see how I should measure this component. Here I have an optocoupler. Pin 1 is positive, or the anode. Pin 2 is the cathode. Here we have an LED. And on this side we have a transistor, we have the collector and the emitter. If I connect pin 1 to positive and pin 2 to negative, it should measure a value higher than that of a normal diode. That's the value of the LED. It shouldn't measure anything in reverse. This means that the optocoupler is working properly. In the case of the transistor, negative to the emitter and positive to the collector shouldn't measure anything either. It shouldn't measure anything in reverse either. These are the measurements you should get on the circuit board. However, on a circuit board, components interact with other components. For example, let's measure the LED of the optocoupler, pin 1 to positive, and pin 2 to negative. It should measure a value higher than that of a normal diode. That means the LED is in good condition. We reverse the circuit, it shouldn't register a reading. However, we got a higher reading than the one we measured previously. That means there is some component that is working with it in parallel. Therefore, we can say it's in good condition. As for the transistor, we're going to measure it. We put negative on the emitter and positive on the collector. And generally, it shouldn't show any reading. There, it's in good condition. Now we reverse the polarity. When we reverse the polarity, it should measure a very high value. However, it measures a value similar to that of a diode. That also means that the optocoupler is working with some other component in parallel. It doesn't mean they're in bad condition. Those would be the components that most commonly get damaged. Then, in the power stages, it's usually the transistors or thyristors. For example, on this board, we have IGBT transistors. Transistors like this one here have 3 terminals: the gate, the collector, and the emitter. Now, an IGBT transistor is measured in the following way. There should never be a continuity reading between the collector and emitter. However, if the gate is accidentally activated, a very low reading between the collector and emitter can be obtained, regardless of the multimeter probe polarity. For example, there we have a low reading, which shouldn't be present under normal conditions. Now let's measure in reverse. There we have a much lower value than the previous one. Now, if we deactivate the gate with a negative signal, we can measure the actual values. There we have the protection diode. And in reverse, it shouldn't measure anything. All good. A moment ago, the transistor was working. Don't forget that if I apply a positive signal to the gate, it will create a path between the collector and the emitter. We take the measurement again, pin 1 negative, to deactivate the transistor. Pin 3 positive, and we measure between pin 2 and pin 3. There we have the protection diode. We reverse it, and it shouldn't measure anything. The transistor is in good condition. We do the same on this board. Between pin 2 and pin 3, it shouldn't measure anything. There you can see that there is a short circuit. Let's see with this other transistor, between pin 2 and pin 3. This one and this one are damaged. Let's see the third one. No, it's not damaged. It should never show continuity between the collector and the emitter. Therefore, if it shows continuity, you have to remove it and replace it with another transistor. Okay guys, this way you can check the components that most frequently burn out on electronic boards. I hope you found the video helpful, and if you did, don't forget that a like really helps the channel. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.